So breaking news into the platform, ladies and gentlemen. We heard rumblings over the weekend that a James Harden to Brooklyn trade, it's possible but not probable. Well, this morning, James Harden is looking to change that possible into a probable, as reportedly, according to the Houston Chronicle, James Harden is now demanding a trade out of Houston, and he would like to force his way to Brooklyn. Now, let me just kind of put everything in perspective here. If James Harden were to be moved to Brooklyn, obviously they got Kevin Durant returning. Kyrie Irving's also returning from injury as well. You pair him alongside those two all-star superstars in our league. I mean, look, I don't know how much passing is going to go on in Brooklyn. A lot of ISO ball, but you got three of the best at it on one team. It would take Brooklyn. They obviously would have to move on from Caris LeVert, probably Spencer Dinwiddie as well. Jared Allen is going to be a free agent here just momentarily. I would assume the Rockets, if this trade were to happen, I would assume the Rockets would want the Nets to go ahead and sign Jared Allen and then kind of attach him to this trade as well. And then, I mean, maybe there are other pieces out there. I'm assuming everybody not named Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and probably DeAndre Jordan would be on the table if the Rockets were to make this blockbuster trade with the Nets. From a basketball standpoint, I don't necessarily think this one works on the court. I just think at some point in time, you got to have guys who are willing to play off the ball. And again, you got three guys that all need the basketball in their hands. I mean, Kevin Durant kind of already did this with Russell Westbrook and James Harden in OKC. It didn't work out. Harden was obviously younger. If I'm Houston, if I'm going to trade James Harden, I believe personally this is the best package you could get right now. I've heard rumblings of Boston. I don't believe Danny Ainge will move off of Jason Tatum. I'm pretty sure you can get a Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart mesh. But personally, I think Caris LeVert's ceiling offensively is a tad bit higher than Jaylen Brown's is offensively. Now, if we're asking who's a better player, I would say Jaylen Brown's a tad bit better than Caris LeVert overall. But I think LeVert has the higher ceiling offensively. Spencer can hoop as well. And I don't really know how those two guys are going to mesh with Kyrie and KD in Brooklyn anyway. I was kind of questioning that one myself. So if you're the Rockets, you moved on from Daryl Morey. It looks like Harden's relationship wasn't with the ownership group as much as it was with Daryl Morey, the former GM of the team. If this is the chance you got, with Russell Westbrook already letting it be known that he wants out and he wants to demand a trade out, if this is time for the Rockets to do this thing over again, I believe you attach Caris, Spencer, and a lot of picks. And you see if you could get that from Brooklyn, and I'm pretty sure you could. I think the trade does make a lot of sense from the Rockets' perspective. If I'm Brooklyn, I understand why you want to add stars. I mean, Harden's a fashion dude. He's a superstar, one of the most popular athletes in the sport, in all the sports, actually. You bring him to Brooklyn, I'm sure he'll fit in just fine. I don't necessarily think this one works on the court, though, but I think there's a good chance James Harden ends up in Brooklyn if he's demanding a trade right now, which, again, according to the Houston Chronicle, Harden wants out of Houston right now. That's just days after Russell Westbrook allegedly demanded a trade out of Houston. Again, breaking news into the platform, James Harden is trying to force his hand out of Houston. He is demanding a trade, and he would like to be traded to Brooklyn. Now, it is worth noting that Harden does not have a no-trade clause. So, I mean, technically, with multiple years left on his contract, the Rockets, not only do they not have to trade him to Brooklyn, they don't have to trade him at all. So, I mean, there's that. Harden just recently re-upped his deal. There is no, the Rockets don't have to trade James Harden. The only reason why they maybe would want to do so is it feels like it's time for them to rebuild. Looks like that team's going nowhere. And also, you maybe just don't want an unhappy superstar who it looks like we've seen the peak of what Harden and the Rockets could do. To me, the peak was with James Harden and Chris Paul as they were one game away from getting to the NBA Finals alongside some other pieces like a PJ Tucker. It seems like this team has reached its pinnacle, and it might be time for them to move on. We'll see what the Rockets opt to do in the next couple of days as we get closer and closer to the draft Wednesday and free agency that's coming up at the end of the week.